I want to get into the topic of quitting. Yes, quitting. Maybe a strange topic, you would think, for a show. But I think it's something that comes up for a lot of people these days, actually. More so than they would be willing to admit. I see examples of what I would term being a quitter on a daily basis. All it takes is just a little bit of time going through social media, and you'll see plenty of fine examples of the things I'm going to talk about. Obviously, this is one of those things that I discover and kind of expand on a little bit whenever I'm teaching some of these students, because I always like to have the conversation with them about the idea of quitting, because as I've said before, my classes are very difficult. They're hard classes. I put them through the ringer. That's always been the way I've taught. That's the way I was taught. And it's probably one of the reasons I've never had a huge gym, because a lot of people just aren't ready for that. And that's fine if that's the way they want to be. But I always have the conversation with the kids on the concept of quitting. And I tell them, when you're going through the drills here, when I'm pushing you really hard, and maybe you're hitting the mitts and you're getting tired, just don't feel like you can hold your hands up. Like today's class, for instance. Today's class was it was set up to be a difficult class. I wanted to make it a conditioning based class. We did a few drills to start the class. Then it was like heavy tie pad drills. If you don't know what that is, I feel sorry for you. Doing tie pad drills, doing some wrestling drills, as well as some circuit training. And it was just a very, very taxing class. One of the guys in there who was training, he tells me, he's like, I just jogged at a moderate pace, obviously. I just jogged not long ago an actual 10-mile jog with a 50-pound pack on. And I was able to get through it like no problem, but this stuff right here is killing me. And I'm like, well, that's the reason I designed it the way I did. But I tell them, when we go through this stuff, today was a fine time to do it. I talk to them about quitting. I say, people will say that you hear the term all the time, quitting's not an option, right? Quitting is not an option here. We don't quit here and all this stuff like that. Well, it's actually somewhat untrue, because what ends up happening is there's a lot of different ways to motivate people. Okay, there's a lot of ways to motivate people. A lot of people just go with the old generic, failure's not an option, quitting's not an option, and we push through and all stuff like that. Well, what happens is when people get to the level of quit that they have in them, and trust me, everyone has a level of quit in them. I don't care, I'd never quit. You're full of shit. If you've never quit working hard at something, you have not been pushed hard enough. Okay, there is a moment where you will break. I assure you. I tell them straight up, here at this gym, I'm going to keep everything real with you. Quitting is absolutely an option. Not only that, quitting is the easiest option you can possibly take. That sounds like a pretty shitty motivational speech, right? They're thinking about quitting and they hear me go, well, quitting is an option. Well, there's a kind of an addendum to that. As I tell them, when you decide to quit, when you decide that you can't take any more, by all means, do so. But understand this, you are going to have to live with the decision that you just made to quit. You're going to have to accept responsibility for that in your own eyes, in my eyes, and in the eyes of your peers. So let me tell you something. If you've got a room full of men, a room full of teenage boys where that ego and that testosterone is through the roof, you can walk in that place out in the middle of a hard training class and you can just smell the testosterone in there. When you have a class like that and you see somebody drop, or they just decide not to go anymore, trust me, there's a bit of a shame level involved in that. There is whether people look at him and go, aha, you fucking quit, whether they do that or not, or whether they just look at him, and say, oh man, you sitting down? Even something, or just a glance. Something like that. There's a certain level of responsibility and a certain level of accountability that they're going to have to answer for themselves knowing that they quit. Because I tell them, I say, if you quit, if you decide to quit, that's all on you. Because the fact of the matter is, if you decide to go sit down, you are essentially leaving your brethren on the battlefield to fight by themselves. Because when you're out there training, that is basically soldiers working together against a common enemy. That's the way I view it. That's the way we view it in my school. We're all working together. We are a group. When we're all hitting the pads, we're all fighting the enemy. You sit down and you're leaving your brethren there. Is it worth that for you? Are you willing to leave them on the battlefield? That's what you're saying when you quit. Well, if it was a real fight and I had to defend my brethren, I wouldn't quit like that. Then why are you quitting now? Like I said, it's completely up to them. It's an option. It's an easy option. But are you willing to live with that? If your family was in danger and all that stood between their demise and whether they live or die, all that stood between that was you, would you quit? Would you? If you will, that's cool. That's an easy option. You can take that option. You can look at, what's the case of, I remember hearing people talk about this. The guy, William Petit, Billy Petit, whose family was all tied up. And Billy actually got himself free from his binds and escaped the house as his wife and daughter were being raped and killed upstairs. Billy escaped the house and got away. Billy made the decision to quit. He did. He made the decision to quit. He took the easy way out. And his wife and daughter were killed because of that. And now he has to live with that for the rest of his life. Oh, what could have Billy done? What could he have done? Well, he could have went upstairs and probably died with his wife and family or saved them. Either way is an honorable death. But he chose the path of dishonor. See, the thing is, when it comes to the way I like to motivate my students is I want them to understand that they absolutely can quit, but to do so would be a dishonorable act. Would be a dishonorable act amongst their peers. Now, do they ever quit? Yeah, I can push anyone to the point where they will quit. You will not find a single person that will go and not quit. I don't care what they say. Eventually they will quit some way. Either their body will give out on them, or, their muscles will give out. All right, well, I guess that's the body. Usually the brain breaks before the body does, but eventually something will quit. And when that happens, guess what? They have to live with that. They do. They have to live with that. So I always want them to understand that in the scenarios that we run and the drills that we do, we're fighting together as a team. When you see one of your guys starting to fall down, it's time to step up. It's time to step up and say, you're their brethren there. You need to say, hey, come on, man, let's go. Let's do this. Let's do this. Me as the coach, that's what I'm doing a lot of times. That's in the background. If I had a video camera run, I'll have to run a video camera one day. And, you can hear me in the background screaming at these guys. All the time, screaming. You hear my voice yelling like a drill sergeant, yelling at them to work harder. That's not even air you're breathing. That's one of the classic ones I like to use from the Matrix when Morpheus is teaching Neo and Neo's all winded. He's like, am I really that fast? And all this is like that. He says, is that even air you're breathing? And you see, you see Neo kind of take his breath in, and basically what he was saying is like the whole idea of air going in and out of his lungs and being tired was all a construct in his mind. So I will tell the students that from time to time. I'll say, is that even air you're breathing? You're not even breathing real air. It's just some construct of being tired in your mind. And I'll push them through it. And a lot of times I see people go much, much further than they ever would have thought they could go. I saw it today. I saw a student pushed really, really hard today. And that's what he wanted. And damn it, that's what I'll give him. But the thing is, and the thing was like, he wanted to quit numerous times in the middle. I told him, I said, if you want to quit, go ahead and quit. Just live with it. Live with the fact to know that in the middle of this drill, you quit. If you can tell me that you're willing to quit right now and stop, go right ahead. He didn't. He kept working, and he worked his ass off. But the thing is like, people are all too easy. It's all too easy these days for people just to quit on something, right? Things get hard, and they're like, I can't really do this and all this, and people are just like, oh well, go ahead if you want to, and that's fine, it's understandable. But people, one of the things that keeps people going in a lot of situations such as this, especially if you run in kind of a tribal culture, tribal society, is the idea of shame. I'm not sure. I don't think I did these particular episodes. I think these were. Yes, these were members only episodes where I did the breakdown of the warrior ethos by Stephen Pressfield, and he talked about a lot of these things with using concepts of shame to actually build tighter bonds and make people better soldiers. I've got like the little book here right in front of me. I'm gonna read it here. You have basically you have a guilt-based society versus a shame-based society. Guilt-based societies or guilt-based cultures internalize their society's conceptions of right and wrong. Sinner feels his crime in his guts. He doesn't need anyone to convict him or sentence him. He convicts and sentences himself. A shame-based culture is the opposite. In a shame-based culture, face is everything. All that matters is what the community believes of us. If we have committed murder, but we can convince our fellows we are innocent, we're home free. On the other hand, if the community believes evil of us, even if we're blameless, we have lost face and honor. Death has become preferable to life. A shame-based culture imposes its values from outside the individual by the good and bad opinion of the group. The community imposes its codes on its members by such acts as shunning and public shaming. And, obviously this was done in Japanese culture. Japanese culture is a prime example of this. But we want to instill a mindset in the students, because you have to understand, I fully understand what I am doing as a martial arts instructor. As a martial arts instructor, I am teaching these people the way of violence. I'm teaching these young men how to fight. And I want them, through all of the lessons we're learning, to become tight as a unit. Tight as a unit, because most likely these men will compete together. Okay? We're building bonds, and we're building a culture of honor. There's a vast valley between the martial arts world and honor anymore. It used to be kind of this thing where honor was a given, but it's starting to drift. So I want them to understand that if they do decide to quit, in the middle of training, or the drill gets too hard, or they get frustrated, or whatever it may be, that's fine, but understand what the rest of the group is going to feel about, and put a perception on the type of individual you are. They're going to understand that, what's that guy going to do? Is he going to have my back? No, man, that guy's a quitter. Okay? Let's talk about being a quitter. Let's talk about what I would say, especially, this is just in general, this is not in a martial arts mentality, because while I talk about martial arts, all of those lessons, they all connect together. Every last one of them. So let's talk about being a quitter. How to tell if you're being a quitter. Number one, do you stop whenever things get hard? When things get difficult, do you just say, you know what? All right, that's enough. Or do you push through it? When you're in there training and you're like, man, I am just exhausted. I just don't feel like I have any energy. I can't do anything. I'm just gonna take the easy way out today. I know today was supposed to be a hard day. I was supposed to do some chest and tries today, or back and buys, whatever you want to do. I was supposed to do that, but you know what? I think I'm just gonna walk on the treadmill today. Okay, that's an easy option for you to do. No one can actually step up and say, they can step up to you. Well, unless you got a group, obviously. But if you're by yourself, no one can really shame you for doing that. It's up to you to actually police yourself a bit in that. A lot of people, man, I see guys come in and they'll want to half-ass things and take the easy road. And that speaks volumes about what they do. And it's the same with life, man. I see so many people, the going gets tough, their ass gets going. I mean, they're like, I'll just take the easy way out. And hey, I'm not sitting up here cross-legged on a mountain preaching down the gospel to you that I've never experienced myself. Guys, I have been through this shit before. A lot of these things I've been through. Because in my past, I've fallen in a lot of the traps of the quitter. And that's why I do shows like this. When I talk about these things, I'm talking about the fuck-ups of my past. And the lessons I've learned. So hopefully, people younger than me are listening to this and they're like, you know what? I can start making these changes now. That's how we change the world. Okay? In life, I see so many people, man, this is just getting too hard. It's just getting too hard to deal with. I think I'm just going to check out. Right? Like the people, like the whole suicide epidemics and stuff like that. Hey, everybody's got a hard life. And yeah, people's been through some shit. But you know what that's called? A lot of those people, their mindset is just too weak to live anymore. They've checked out. They've quit. Forget about, the people they leave behind. Forget about all that. They're more interested in checking out rather than pushing through the work. I've seen so many people be willing to throw in the towel rather than get in there and put in the hard work, sweat, and determination that needs to be done. I see a lot of people, man, they jump on these things, like the work from home stuff, where it's like usually a lot of it's like kind of pyramid stuff or whatever. There's all kind of like weight loss and all this other stuff. And you can certainly make money at it. But the funny thing is, what they tell you is they say, hey, you can do this and you can make money from home. Easy, work from home. Everybody thinks working from home is easy. Oh, you don't even have to put on any pants today. You can just stay in your pajamas and work from home. Let me tell you something. If you've ever done anything like that and been successful at it, or talked to anyone who is successful, I guarantee you they will tell you they worked harder than they ever have in their entire lives. If you run a business for yourself, I can tell you that you work harder than you ever have in your entire life. Especially if you're doing a startup. As I say, man, most of the time I'm burning the candle at both ends and the wax is even melting in the middle. But here I am. Day in, day out. I get up with a smile on my face. I'll give you a rundown of my day. I got up this morning, just as the sun's coming up. I get up, I start working on, I have some breakfast, I go start working on bows. I'm working on bows, getting stuff together, spend all the morning doing that, doing some computer work, as well as shipping, packing stuff up to ship. I get done with that, I'm teaching a class for an hour and a half. I'm done with that, I come inside, I work on some more bows, and may sit down and do some podcast work, like I'm doing today. Then when I'm done with this, guess what? It's back out to work on some more stuff. And I'll probably be working on it off and on throughout the day. And that's not even factoring in business communications that I make throughout the day. Questions, all these things, website work. It's a one-man gig. But you won't hear me fucking bitch about it. You'll hear me get up with the same vigor, and I will face it because I know what it's like to have to look at myself in the mirror and know that I failed. And I won't do it. I'll drop dead before I fail. They talk about all these businesses failing early, and I told guys I was going to make a living doing this, and I walked away from an expensive job, and they said, Odinson, you can't do that. No one's able to do that. I'm not no one. I'm Alan motherfucking Odinson, and I stepped out, and I made the moves happen. You got to be willing to look this world in the eyes and tell it, look, I'm not going to quit. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to keep here. You're going to see my carcass crawling to the fucking shop every single day to work if I have to. This is why society's crumbling around us right now. There's too many people who are given the easy high road that there's no shame in just walking away. There's no shame in quitting at life. There's no shame involved with the actual living a life where everybody's giving you shit all the time. I'm just going to quit my job and I'll just let the government take care of me. Hey, you want to crash the system anyway? I've heard that bullshit all the time. Hey, if that's what you want to do, guess what? You got to live with that shit. You got to look yourself in the face and know that you shamefully suck off the government teat day in and day out. Fuck you. You're a waste of life. Gets me so fired up, man. So another lesson or another sign that you're being a quitter. Do you blame others for your failure? Holy shit. How many people do you know, or even yourself for that matter, that you've done this before? I know I have. Well, I would have got that promotion if it wasn't for John staying over all the time and doing the extra work around here and showing up early and staying late. That bastard would have got that promotion. My business would have worked pretty good if people would have just come in and bought some stuff. I hear this all the time. Blaming others for your failure. You failed in life because other people succeeded in life. Where's the fuck up there? Like this whole idea of people blaming others for their position in life. Oh, well, what about the poor? Well, the poor need to stop being the poor. Well, that's easy for you to say. Really? Because I've been the poor before. I know a lot of successful people who have been the poor who aren't anymore. Why? Guess what? Let me tell you why that happened. It wasn't because they sat in the house in their pajamas watching Jerry Springer in the morning eating fucking cheesy poofs. That's not how it happened. No, they got up and they worked every single day. Even if you don't have a job, you should get outside and go to work every single day. What? That doesn't make any sense. If it doesn't make any sense to you, you're fucking fit. Go ahead and turn this off right now. You haven't understood what I'm saying. You're missing the whole entire point. The whole point is you can't give up. You can't quit on life. But no, it's much easier. Remember I say it's the easy option. Quitting's the easy option. Easy option to blame other people. It's easy to blame other people for your failure. Right? I failed because this guy did this to me. Or I failed because of my ex doing this in the past. No. Stop giving them your power. Too many people give their power away on a daily basis. Daily basis. It infuriates me. And hey, it infuriates me because I've been there. I've been the guy that gave his power away. When I stopped doing that and started taking accountability for everything I did and not blaming other people. Oh, people aren't coming in to buy from your store? Why not? What's your advertising look like? Are you cold calling people? Are you sending out stuff? Are you working your social media accounts? What are you doing? Or are you just sitting in your store waiting on people to show up? I put some signs by the road. Really? That's catching people as they're going 55 miles an hour down the road. Do work, son. Plain and simple. Number 3. Oh, this is a good one. I'm sure there's a lot of people going to love this one. Do you blame a boogeyman? Oh, the boogeyman. Oh, I hear all the time where somebody blames a boogeyman for why they just can't get ahead in life. And I specifically separated this from others because this is when people will blame an entire group for their failures in life. I would be, this country would be in a lot better shape and my life would be in a whole lot better shape if it wasn't for the damn Illuminati. My life would be so much better, but that damn New World Order's taking over. You just can't get anywhere anymore because the Zionists control everything. Yep, we got this problem. Our lives are getting so hard, we're not making any money anymore because insert random race is causing us a problem. You got certain groups that blame the fall of society on black people. You got white groups that blame the fall of society on black people. You got black people that say they can't get ahead because of white people. It's absolutely ridiculous. Because you'll find examples in each group of people who got ahead, right? Oh, you blame it on the rich. Well, the rich people, the 1%. How do you think? Instead of blaming the 1%, why don't you do something to become the 1%? Oh, that's impossible because the Zionists control the banks. Fuck you. Get out there and work. Get out there and make something of yourself. Quit giving your power to all these groups. All of them. Well, they do. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Let me tell you something. You're a tiny, small little microbe in this massive world. Get out there and start finding the other tiny microbes. And before you know it, you're creating a gigantic organism, a massive organism of success. It infuriates me when I see all these people just, you've got the left. The left will sit over there and blame the GOP. The left will blame the alt-right. They'll blame white nationalists. They'll blame libertarians. They'll blame the Republicans. They'll blame everybody, right? And then on the same side, you've got the right wing doing the same thing. Oh, the damn communists, they're out there. If they weren't out there, we'd be able to go to work. And, we got the Zionists out there. And then we got, we've got these rich Democrats out there. And it's just like, oh, Jesus Christ, man. You guys are just going back and forth. You're mirroring the other side. Stop becoming them. You sit there and mock them, but you're just a different sort of amalgamation of all these different things that they're over there blaming. Stop blaming them. Stop blaming these groups. I don't give a shit. Let me tell you something. Right now, when you wake up in the morning and the time you go to bed, I assure you that there's not one of these groups that I mentioned that's going to decide whether or not you put bread on the table that day. Too many people are just willing to make an excuse for why they fail. It's time for people to start having some accountability in their lives. Take some accountability. Quit blaming others. Quit blaming boogeymen out there. That boogeyman's just waiting on us out there. It's tough to get ahead. You're not even trying to get ahead. Most people that tell me that this boogeyman's keeping them down, they're not even trying. That's both sides, left and right. You're not even working with the entire bird. You're just worried about your side. Last one here. Do you make excuses? And I hear this all the time too. I'll see successful people. They will post something about being successful, right? Oh, I made X amount of dollars today. Worked hard, got up, yada yada yada. And then people will comment underneath it and say, well, money doesn't really matter anyway, and if you value that sort of thing, I mean, that's fine. I mean, so what if you made a month, or my month's salary in a day? And so what? I mean, I'm not really into money anyway. Or, I hear, I'd like to do that, but I'm just not good at it. I hear that kind of stuff all the time. And there they go. They're making those excuses for why they fail. They've accepted the fact. They have talked themselves into being a quitter. I see it all the time. Try to teach a kid or a new student. I try and teach them a new skill, and they have some trouble with it. I'm just not good at that. No, you just haven't got the reps in. It's the same with anything else, like salesmanship. Dude, despite what you may think, I have never been a very, very good salesman. I've never even been a really good talker in the past. Yeah, believe that. I've never even been a good talker. I hated talking to people. I would shake and shiver, and man, I was horrible. Absolutely terrible at it. Still don't think I'm that great these days, but I'm miles ahead of what I used to be. It didn't just magically happen. I could have just said, well, I'm not good at that, but if I'd have done that, this podcast wouldn't be here. Wouldn't be here. I had to be willing to put the reps in. You don't get strong without putting the reps in. Whether it be your muscles, your mind, your heart, whatever it may be, you gotta put the reps in. You have to put the reps in to know that you can survive, know that you can grow. It's like with salesmanship, man. There's an entire martial art to being a good salesman. And I remember when I was on my way down to Atlanta for Blade Show. I mean, person-to-person sales, I have a very minimal understanding of that. I've done a little bit of sales work in the past, but I mean, I was a novice would be giving me much more credit than I deserve. But I had a long ride to Atlanta from here because Atlanta's wonderful for traffic jams, and I got a book, an audio book from Grant Cardone. And I listened to it the whole way down there, and I finished the book about the time I got to the show venue, and it was all about salesmanship. And I applied those skills that I learned that entire weekend and made more money in a weekend than I've ever made in my entire life, at least on a weekend time. It was pretty much making a couple months worth of salary in a couple days. And, I could have just said, well, I'm not really good at sales, and 'cause I didn't sell a thing last time I was there, and I didn't know what I was doing. And this time I went down there armed with the necessary skills. I wasn't going to just fold under and be a quitter. Because I'm going to tell you something. I'll be 100% honest right here. That weekend was either a win or die situation. Plain and simple. And I could have just folded and said, you know what? I can't do this. I'm not going to be able to do it. I've never been good with sales. I got to talk to these people. These people aren't going to, respect me. I'm just walking around carrying stuff. I don't even have a table. Didn't matter. I walked in there like I was the cock of the walk and walked out with lots of cash. Okay, even selling things that I didn't even have on me. I mean, I made the famous elevator sale, right? The elevator pitch and sale. From the top of the elevator to the bottom, I pitched my product at the top floor. By the time we reached the bottom floor, they was handing me cash like that. That's like the holy grail, okay? And I actually sold a second item like 30 minutes later to someone who was in the elevator also. So I would call that a 2. That's a 2. While there was no cash exchange at the bottom, that's 2 points right there. But a lot of people are just so easy to make an excuse for why they fail rather than stepping back and asking themselves, what have I done to put myself in this position? Why have I chosen to quit here? Why have I chosen? You got to have that level of accountability. There's a story that I love. I don't remember who it's by. I was actually... Sometimes when I work out, I have some motivational like speeches play in the background. It's just a conglomeration. And this particular one I heard on there, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase a little bit. But basically it goes like this. There was a man who he wanted to be successful in life. And he went he found the most successful man he knew. And he went up to the guy and he says, hey, he said, I want to be successful just like you. I want to win the game. Will you teach me? He said, absolutely. I want you to meet me at the beach, 6 a.m. in the morning. Be there, and I'll teach you. He's like, okay, beach, that's kind of weird. He's like, all right, cool, see you there. So, morning time comes. Here comes he shows up at the beach. There's the old man sitting there. And he walks up to the old man. He's like, all right, man, I'm ready to learn. He said, all right. So what I want you to do is I want you to walk out there into the ocean. Walk out there into the water, and I want you to stand till the water's up about your waist level. And he's like, all right. So he was walking out there, and he stands. He thought it was kind of weird, It's like, I come here to learn. I didn't come here to learn how to swim, So the guy walks out there, and he stands in the water, and he's standing there. The old man's just sitting there looking at him. He stands there for maybe about 10 minutes. He's like, this is stupid. I don't know what this guy did. So he walks back up, and he's like, hey, man. He said, I want to learn how to be successful. He's like, I didn't come here to learn to swim. Or are you going to start teaching me? He goes, tell you what, young fella. He said, I'm going to walk out there with you. He said, let's go. He walks out there, and they walk a little bit deeper this time, about up to the guy's upper chest. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, what am I here to learn? Old man reaches up, grabs him by the head, takes his head, and he dunks it underwater, and he holds him there. And the guy's holding his breath, and he's struggling, he starts thrashing around, he's fighting, he's fighting the old man's hand, and he gets up, he comes up out of the water, he goes back to shore, and he's like, this old man has lost his mind. He starts yelling at me, he said, what in the world are you doing? Are you trying to kill me? I come out here for you to teach me to be successful, and you're trying to drown me? He goes, let me tell you something, young fella. He said, I'm going to tell you the secret to success right now. He said, I'm going to tell you. He said that feeling you had when you were underwater, when you were gasping for air. He said all you wanted to do was come up out that water and catch some fresh air. All you wanted to do was breathe. He said until you can replicate that feeling in your life, that's when you'll find success. Until you can fight for success with the same vigor as you're willing to fight for that air, you ain't never going to be successful. You ain't never going to be successful unless you have that same feeling. That same feeling that if you don't succeed, that if you quit is equivalent to sucking in a mouthful of salt water. Until you have that willingness to just grasp and fight and claw, do whatever it takes to get that gulp of fresh air, you're never going to be anything successful. That's a fine lesson, man. That's a fine lesson. That story should be taught in every freaking school. Maybe it would do something to start changing the youth of this nation. Because remember, the youth isn't failing, we're failing. We're failing them. So let's talk briefly here, and I'm going to wrap it up after this, but let's talk briefly here about different ways you could start actually forging yourself and actually test yourself to find out, am I starting to get past this mindset of quit that I have? Am I actually willing to reach in there, find the quit, dig it out, dig my claws in there, rip that quit out, set it on the table and smash it? What can I do? What are things I can do to harden my spirit, to make myself stronger, to be able to face whatever it may be, whether I'm in a cage, a ring, fighting on the street, fighting for my life, trying to get my life in order, trying to get a better job, trying to move my position in life. All of these things can be found with these lessons. First off, forge yourself into something stronger, plain and simple. I tell kids all the time, man, when you come in here, I look at you, when you step on my mat, you're like a wad of cookie dough. When I'm done with you, you'll be carved out of marble. And you'll be ready to crush anything in your path. Because if you could survive this place, if you could survive the pressure I'm going to put you under, you'll be able to handle anything out those doors. It's the same with like a diamond. How do diamonds get created? A diamond has value, right? It's one of the highest value things in the world. A diamond has value because it's willing to go through the pressure to become a diamond. It has to be squeezed, crushed. It's not worth anything until that happens. Human beings are the same way. Too many people are not willing to put themselves under that level of pressure, that level of fatigue, whether it be physically, spiritually, or emotionally. Most people are not willing to do that. They're not willing to test themselves. The only way you're going to find out whether you really got what it takes to push forward through whatever you may run into in life, you've got to push yourself. You've got to test yourself. You got to put yourself in the arena in whatever aspect it may be that you find yourself facing. Push yourself. You need to be able to push yourself harder than anyone else will. I've always told people that whenever I train, I've always kind of worked out by myself in the past, whether it's lifting weights or boxing, whatever. I tend to like to work out a lot by myself because I always figure that if I can push myself harder than anybody else that's going to be in that room, when they look at me and they say, you know what, I got to stop. I got to let this guy rest because I think he's going to fall over dead. If I can push myself harder than that, there ain't nobody around me that's going to be able to hold me down. There's nobody around me that's going to be able to tell me I can't. There's nobody around me that's going to say, oh, this guy, he's a quitter. They're like, no, man, this guy keeps coming. He's like a fucking zombie. He's like a zombie. He's going to keep coming. He's going to rise up. He's going to keep coming every single time. That's the kind of reputation I want to build. I want people to say, you know what? Life's done beat this guy down, but he's going to rise again like a fucking phoenix every single time. Number 3, hold yourself accountable for your position in life. You're poor? Well, it's probably because you haven't done anything to get out of there. All right? You got a shitty job? Why do you have a shitty job? Do something about it. Do something about it. Change your position. Change your position. Whatever position in life, you have to start taking accountability. I put myself here. And whether you think you put yourself there or not, that's beyond the point. The fact of the matter is, once you start taking accountability, you've removed power from all these other people, whether it be boogeymen or whomever may be out there. You've also removed the excuses. You've removed all this. You said, I am responsible for this. I am the one who has control over my life. And who can change that? Only you. Only you can. It's your choice whether or not you want to be a quitter. Next one, no excuses. 0 excuses for what happens to you. Your business fails, it's your fault. Didn't get that promotion, it's your fault. Got fired from your job, your fault. Got tapped out in training, your fault. Got KO'd, your fault. Got winded, your fault. Everything should be considered your fault. Once you do this and take that mentality, you have now put your life under your control. You're not reacting to everything that's around you. So many people live a life that's so reactionary. Every time somebody does something, right? It's like, oh, I'd be able to get ahead if it wasn't for this guy, or this guy did this, and all this other bullshit. Every single time you do that, you're becoming reactionary. That means that somebody else is leading you around. The concept in SIAC of be the feeder, right? The feeder controls the action. The feeder pushes the action. He's the guy that pushes the buttons. If you're not pushing the buttons, you probably are the buttons, okay? So you need to start removing all these excuses from your life. Where you live at, what your job title is, how much money you make, how in debt you are, how this person fucked you over. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Even if you have that excuse, keep that shit to yourself. Not only does it make you weaker in your own eyes, but it makes you weaker in the eyes of the people around you too. Last but not least, certainly not least, give every single day 100% of your effort. Every single day. Too many people, man, they will complain about their jobs or whatever. They'll complain about their jobs, and then they'll say, they'll work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday they're off, right? And what do? Sit around, drink beer, watch TV, maybe cut the yard or something like that, right? But yet, I say to those people, I say, well, why are you not working those 2 days also? Well, I worked all week. Well, I hate to tell you, but if you really want to change your position, if you're truly serious about changing your position, perhaps you need to put some extra time in. What about when you get off work? Are you putting time in there? I remember a classic thing where somebody said, the key to being successful is to work half a day. Right? Work half a day. And a lot of people are like, well, how in the world do you become successful working half a day? I mean, only 4 hours a day. It's like, oh, no. A full day is 24 hours. So work 12 hours a day. Minimum, right? A lot of times I'll put in 12 to 16 a day. And, but the thing is I put myself in a position where I have the ability to dictate exactly what I do with my time. All of the things that I do to make a living at are all things that I thoroughly enjoy. So I have control of my life. It doesn't belong to these other groups out there. None of those people. It's all mine. It's all mine. Every single day I get up, man, I give it 100%. I give everything I got, to take care of what needs to be taken care of, and I enjoy the hell out of it every single day. If you're not enjoying your life, you're fucking up. You're fucking up. People always see this thing, I see the memes, you weren't meant to work 40 hours a week and have things you can't pay for, and all, some fucking meme like that. You weren't meant to live for money and all stuff like that. They're right. You're meant to enjoy life. But that's a fucking excuse. That's telling you that it's easier to quit. I'm telling you, work harder, but do the things that you enjoy. Oh, I can't do that. Why can't you? That's making a fucking excuse. Oh, well, my bills. Excuse. Well, this guy right here says I can't make it. Excuse. Stop blaming that guy. Take responsibility. This is how we become better. This is how we start changing things around us. Everybody's looking to stop this boogeyman and quit this guy from doing this or bring this guy down, right? Oh, this guy's successful. We should bring him down. And maybe I'll magically become successful by making him unsuccessful, as if that ever works. The key to really changing things is to start molding the world around you that you want. It certainly isn't done by quitting. We're just saying, you know what, I give up. Fuck it. I just can't do this anymore. No! We gotta fight. You gotta fight. Claw your way to the top. It's one of the reasons I talk about the climb in this mountain. Because if you've ever done any rock climbing, I'm not the most graceful rock climber in the world. But man, it's a fucking fight to get to the top of that mountain. That's life. Life is not easy. It's hard. It's meant to be hard. Some people are too weak to handle it, but you and I are not. Because you probably would have turned this show off a while back. Oh, man. You know, I get so sick of seeing people just willing to toss in the towel. It just drives me insane. I want to see people do better. I do. I'm going to make this the last call here. Last call, I'm going to wrap it up. Last call. So quitting is the easiest option. Absolutely easy. You can do that. But you have to answer for it. If you're willing to answer for it, if you're willing to live a life of shame, knowing that you back down when things get hard, people around you, your tribe, your friends, your wife, your other loved ones, if they know you as a quitter, are you willing to live with that? Are you willing to be known as that guy who he can't be relied on, man? This guy will just walk away at the drop of a hat. He'll find some excuse as to why he can't do this, and trust me, you'll build a reputation after a while. Is that the type of guy you want to be known as? If you want to be known as that, by all means, go take a seat. There's men at work over here. There's men at work over here. We need to start holding ourselves accountable. We need to stop making excuses. We need to start, this whole mindset of being a quitter and just dropping out when things get hard. We've got to start doing some work to eradicate that. It's got to be done at a young age. It's got to be done with your students, you people who have mantles of teacher. You need to understand how important it is to pass on these lessons to your students. We have really taken too much time off from educating the next generation. Instead, it's easier for us to sit back and play the blame game, right? Damn millennials. Kids these days are just so soft. No, you raised them soft. No, you fucked up. No, you didn't teach them. Oh, kid, they don't even know where the capital is. Why don't they? Why don't they? Oh, they're just stupid. You're making excuses. Why didn't you teach them? I'm sick of hearing excuses from all sides. I'm sick of people being so lackadaisical when it comes to allowing others to make themselves weaker. It seems to be the new tide that's coming in right now. And me, I'm constantly there trying to build a dam to fight the rising of the tides. And it's only going to happen with your help, my fellow barbarians. So we're going to wrap it up. Don't be a quitter. Get out. Challenge yourself. Do something that you're afraid to do. Do something today that you're afraid to do. Start making moves. Start moving the pieces around the chessboard. If the chessboard doesn't look right to you, flip it over. Fucking start over. Get shit right in your life. Today's the day. Don't start tomorrow. Don't start the day after that. I want you to start today. Start making the moves. Challenge yourself. Challenge your children. Don't be a quitter in the eyes of this man. Because let me tell you something. As I said, you can go have a seat. But here, there's men at work. So now, my fellow barbarians, this broadcast of the Barbarian Lounge is closed.
the track.